What happens when the weakest wolf in the pack becomes the key to its survival? For Alara Winters, life had always meant staying small. As an Omega in the Blackstone pack, she existed at the bottom of a hierarchy carved in stone and blood: Alpha, Beta, Omega. The moon goddess's order. Unquestionable. Unchangeable. She was born beneath the weight of expectation, raised in the shadow of those who bore strength like crowns, and she learned early that her only power was in her silence. Her parents had taught her that. Keep your head down. Don't challenge. Don't dream. But when Alpha Cade Thornwood stood before the entire pack during the lunar binding ceremony and severed their fated mate bond in front of 300 witnesses, everything changed. And what happens next, no one was prepared for. The ceremonial clearing had been decorated for celebration. White moonflowers hung from ancient oak branches, their petals glowing softly in the twilight. The scent of pine and anticipation filled the crisp autumn air as pack members gathered in concentric circles around the sacred stone altar. Alara had arrived early, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She wore a simple white dress, all she could afford, while others gleamed in silk and silver. She could feel it, the bond. It had snapped into place 3 days prior, when their eyes met across the training grounds. A golden thread that hummed between her heart and his, singing a song only they could hear. Fated mates. Chosen by the moon goddess herself. Cade had felt it too. She'd seen the shock ripple across his handsome features, watched his nostrils flare as he caught her scent, lavender and morning dew and wildflowers. For one breathless moment, she thought she saw softness in those storm-gray eyes. Good start. I'm establishing the world, the hierarchy, the mate bond, and setting up the rejection. I need to continue building toward the public ceremony and brutal rejection. Let me continue with more detail about the pack politics and her emotional state. Then his jaw had hardened. He'd turned away. Now, as Alara stood at the edge of the gathering, she tried to steady her breathing. Around her, pack members whispered. She caught fragments of conversation carried on the wind. An Omega? As Alpha's mate? The goddess must have made a mistake. Cade will never accept her. The scent of their doubt, sharp, acidic, tinged with pity, made her stomach twist. But beneath her fear, something else stirred. Her wolf, usually so quiet, pressed against her consciousness. He is ours, it whispered. Ours. The ceremony began as the full moon crested the tree line. Pack Elder Miriam, her silver hair braided with sacred herbs, raised her hands for silence. The clearing fell quiet save for the whisper of wind through leaves. Tonight, we gather under the moon goddess's light to witness sacred bonds, Miriam announced, her voice carrying supernatural weight. Fated mates will be recognized. Chosen bonds will be blessed. The pack will grow stronger. Alara's parents stood 20 feet away. Her father, Marcus, kept his gaze fixed on the ground. Her mother, Vera, clutched her shawl with white-knuckled fingers. Neither looked at her. They hadn't spoken to her since the bond appeared, a glowing silver mark that had bloomed on her left shoulder blade, intricate as frost patterns on glass, beautiful as starlight. Cade entered the clearing, and the crowd parted like water before a ship's bow. He moved with the deadly grace of a predator, 6'4" of pure muscle wrapped in a black ceremonial cloak. His scent, forest and embers and ozone and steel, washed over the gathering, announcing his dominance. Behind him walked his beta, Marcus Steele, and his elite guard. And beside him, draped in crimson silk, walked Sienna Ravencroft. Sienna. Beautiful, cruel Sienna with her perfect features and her beta bloodline and her ambition sharp enough to cut. The scent of cinnamon and iron and blood clung to her like perfume. She smiled at the crowd, her hand possessive on Cade's arm. Alara's wolf snarled internally. Wrong. She is wrong. Elder Miriam called the first pair forward. Then the second. Each time, mates faced each other, spoke their vows, received the elder's blessing. The pack celebrated with howls that shook the night. Then Miriam spoke the words Alara had been dreading and hoping for in equal measure. Alpha Cade Thornwood, Step forward with your fated mate. Time stopped. The clearing fell silent. 300 wolves held their breath. Every eye turned to Alara, then to Cade, then to Sienna, whose smile had frozen into something terrible. Cade stepped forward alone. Elder Miriam. His voice rang out, cold and formal. I come before the pack to make a declaration. You bear a fated mark, Miriam said slowly. Her ancient eyes found Alara in the crowd, then returned to Cade. The moon goddess has chosen. The moon goddess chose poorly. Gasps rippled through the clearing. Several pack members stepped back, as if struck. To question the goddess's will was blasphemy. To reject a fated mate was unheard of. Cade continued, his expression carved from granite. I, Alpha Cade Thornwood, reject the bond with Alara Winters. She is weak. She is Omega. She brings no strength to this pack, no advantage, no power. His eyes found hers across the distance, and they were empty. I reject her as mate, as Luna, as anything other than the lowest member of this pack. The words hit Alara like physical blows. Her knees buckled. Around her, the scent of shock and scandal and savage satisfaction filled the air. Cade, you can't, Elder Miriam began. I can. I invoke the ancient right of rejection. He turned to Sienna, whose smile had returned in triumph. I choose Sienna Ravencroft as my mate. A beta. An equal. Someone worthy of standing beside an alpha. Sienna stepped forward, and Cade took her hand. Elder Miriam's face had gone pale. Alpha Cade, you must complete the ritual. The fated bond cannot simply be ignored. Then I'll sever it. He pulled a ceremonial dagger from his belt, silver, etched with runes, blessed by elders generations past. Before anyone could stop him, he drew the blade across his left palm. Black blood welled up, smoking faintly in the moonlight. The scent of ozone intensified. I sever this bond, he declared. I deny this fate. He looked at Alara. You must accept. Speak the words, Omega. Set us both free. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The bond between them thrummed with pain, the golden thread beginning to fray. If she didn't accept the rejection, it would kill them both. A rejected bond, left intact, was poison. Speak. Cade commanded, his alpha voice crashing over her like a tidal wave. The compulsion drove her to her knees. She gasped, pressed her hand to her chest where her heart felt like it was being torn in two. Her voice broke. Tears streamed down her face. I accept your rejection. The bond snapped. The sound was soundless but deafening, a thunderclap that existed only in the spiritual realm. Alara screamed. Fire raced through her veins, starting from the mark on her shoulder blade and spreading like wildfire through every nerve. The silver pattern that had been so beautiful began to blacken, to crack, to burn. She collapsed onto the frozen ground, convulsing. Through the haze of agony, she heard Sienna laugh. Get her out of here, Cade ordered, his voice flat. She's embarrassing herself. Strong hands grabbed Alara's arms, pack guards in their ceremonial armor. They hauled her upright even as her legs refused to support her. The scent of her pain, bitter almonds and ash, must have filled the clearing, but no one moved to help. No one spoke in her defense. Please, she managed, her eyes finding her parents in the crowd. Mom. Dad. Please. Her mother turned her face away. Her father closed his eyes. The guards dragged her through the crowd. Pack members stepped aside, their expressions ranging from pity to disgust to satisfaction. Someone spat as she passed. A young wolf laughed. They pulled her past the sacred altar, past the moonflower decorations now mocking in their beauty, past the celebration that would continue without her. They dragged her to the edge of pack territory, where the treeline marked the boundary between civilization and wilderness. Alpha's orders, one guard said, his voice not unkind but immovable. You're banished. Cross back into Blackstone territory, and you'll be killed on sight. He released her and she fell. The other guard tossed a thin blanket at her feet. Storm's coming, he muttered. You won't last the night. They walked away. She heard their footsteps fade, heard the celebration resume in the distance, howls of joy that felt like knives. Alara lay on frozen ground at the edge of winter woods, feeling the bond's remnants burning in her chest like acid. Her shoulder blade throbbed where the mark had blackened and died. The temperature was dropping rapidly. The first snowflakes began to fall. She should get up. She should move. Find shelter. Fight to survive. But what was the point? Her wolf, usually a constant, comforting presence, had gone completely silent. The rejection had damaged more than just her heart. It had fractured something fundamental. The snow fell harder. Alara pulled the thin blanket around her shoulders and stumbled into the trees. Behind her, the sound of the pack's celebration faded into the wind. Ahead, darkness waited. The wildwood forest stretched for miles in every direction, untamed territory where rogues hunted and worse things stirred. She had no supplies. No warm clothes. No weapons. Nothing but a dying mark and a broken bond and the certain knowledge that she had never mattered to anyone. Not to her mate. Not to her pack. Not even to her parents. The blizzard hit with savage fury an hour later. Wind howled through the trees like wolves themselves, tearing at her inadequate blanket, driving snow into her eyes and mouth. Alara's teeth chattered so hard she thought they might crack. She couldn't feel her fingers. Couldn't feel her toes. Every breath was a knife of ice in her lungs. She'd found a small hollow beneath a fallen oak, barely enough to keep the worst of the wind off her. The scent of decay and damp earth surrounded her. She curled into the smallest ball possible, trying to preserve what little heat remained in her body. This is it, she thought with strange calm. This is how I die. Perhaps it was fitting. The pack had always treated her as if she didn't exist. Now she would simply stop existing. The moon goddess had given her a gift, a fated mate, an alpha, and she'd been too weak to keep it. The cold stopped hurting after a while. That was dangerous, she knew distantly. That meant hypothermia. That meant the end. Her eyes drifted closed. She thought of Cade's face when he'd rejected her. The emptiness in his eyes. She thought of her mother turning away. She thought of all the years she'd spent invisible, insignificant, silent. I'm sorry, she whispered to her silent wolf. I wasn't strong enough. Darkness pulled her under. Warmth. That was the first thing she noticed. Warmth against her left side. Then her right side. Pressure. Weight. The smell of fur. Wild fur. Not pack wolves. Something else. Alara's eyes fluttered open. And froze. She was surrounded by wolves. 1, 2, 3. She counted them in the dim dawn light filtering through the hollow. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 massive wolves, each one larger than any pack alpha she'd ever seen, lay in a protective circle around her. Their bodies pressed close, sharing heat, shielding her from the wind. Snow had piled against their outer flanks, creating a natural barrier. They'd kept her alive through the night. The wolf nearest her head, the largest, with fur the color of storm clouds and eyes like molten silver, lifted its head as it sensed her consciousness returning. The scent of aged oak and winter snow and pine and storm rolled over her. It was impossibly familiar. Impossibly right. The wolf's lips pulled back, revealing fangs the length of her fingers. But it wasn't a threat. It was a smile. Then, as she watched in stunned silence, the air around the wolf began to shimmer. Bones flowed. Fur receded. A man emerged where the wolf had been. Tall, broad-shouldered, with silver-streaked black hair and a face marked by scars and time. He was older than Cade, perhaps in his 40s, but he radiated power that made the young alpha look like a child playing at authority. He was also completely naked, but he didn't seem to care. He simply knelt beside her and spoke in a voice like distant thunder. "We've been waiting for you." Alara's mind struggled to process. The other 9 wolves remained in their protective formation, watching with intelligent eyes. The man, still carrying that scent of oak and snow and storm, reached out slowly and brushed a strand of frozen hair from her face. "Who?" Her voice came out as barely a whisper. What are you? My name is Theron Ashwood. I lead the Sentinel-10. He gestured to the wolves surrounding them. We are the guardians of the matriarch, and we have been searching for you for a very, very long time. I don't understand. You will. He stood, magnificent and unashamed in his nakedness, and raised his voice. Brothers, sisters, she lives. The binding is broken. She is awakening. The 9 wolves rose as one, and as one they began to shift. The air filled with the sound and scent of transformation, not violent, not painful, but powerful, flowing, natural as breathing. Within moments, 9 more people stood in the hollow, 5 men, 4 women, all warriors, all bearing scars, all looking at Alara with something between reverence and relief. A woman with copper hair and amber eyes stepped forward. I'm Syra, second of the Sentinel-10. Her scent was honeyed smoke and steel. We found you last night. Followed your pain signature. The bond breaking, it was like a beacon. Bond breaking set certain things in motion. A man with dark skin and kind eyes added. He smelled of cedar and rain. I'm Dane Third. The prophecies spoke of this. Prophecies? Alara tried to sit up, and immediately every warrior moved to help her. Hands supported her back, adjusted her blanket, checked her temperature. She was still freezing, but alive. Impossibly alive. I'm just an Omega. I'm nobody. Theron crouched before her again, and his silver eyes held hers with an intensity that stole her breath. You're not. You never were. But to explain, we need to get you somewhere safe and warm. Can you stand? She tried.
Failed.
Her legs were still numb from cold and trauma. Without hesitation, Theron swept her into his arms. His body heat felt like salvation. The old shepherd's cabin is 2 miles north. We'll make it before the next storm hits. He began to walk, and the Sentinel-10 fell into formation around them, a protective detail that moved through the snow-covered forest like ghosts. They were all still naked. She realized with a flush of heat that had nothing to do with temperature and completely unbothered by it. Your clothes, she managed. Syra laughed from her left flank. We Travelite. Clothes are human concerns. Shift enough times and you stop caring. Besides, a younger man with a wild grin added, he smelled of sage and summer storms. Easier to shift without them. I'm Jasper, by the way. 7th. Despite everything, the rejection, the near-death, the surreal nature of being carried through a blizzard forest by a naked warrior and his equally naked guard, Alara felt the corner of her mouth twitch. These strangers had more warmth in their voices than her entire pack had shown her in years. The cabin appeared through the trees like a mirage. It was small but solid, with smoke rising from a chimney that suggested someone had prepared it in advance. Theron carried her inside, and the warmth made her gasp. A fire roared in the hearth. Furs covered a bed in the corner. Supplies lined shelves. We've been using this as a base camp for 3 months, Theron explained, laying her gently on the bed and pulling furs over her. Searching the territories. Following leads. The prophecy said we'd know you by the breaking. You keep saying prophecy. Alara's teeth had stopped chattering. Feeling was returning to her extremities in painful prickles. Please. I don't understand any of this. The Sentinel-10 had found clothes, simple tunics and trousers stored in trunks along the walls. They dressed efficiently and gathered around the bed, their expressions serious now. Theron settled into a chair beside her. What do you know about the matriarch? The matriarch? Alara frowned. She's a legend. A fairy tale. The first wolf. The moon goddess's daughter. She ruled before the packs divided, when all wolves lived in harmony under one queen. Not a fairy tale, Syra said quietly. History. And prophecy, Dane added. Listen. He closed his eyes and recited in a voice that echoed with ritual. When the moon turns her face from her daughter's pain, when the bond breaks and the blood runs like rain, when the lowest is cast to the winter's cruel blade, the matriarch will rise from the choices they made. She will be marked by the goddess's own hand. She will carry the power to heal and command. She will come when the wolves have forgotten their heart. She will tear the old world and its cruelties apart. 10 sentinels guard her, 10 shadows, 10 swords, born to serve her and answer her words. They will know her by suffering, by breaking, by pain. They will find her when hope is what's left to regain. Silence fell in the cabin. The fire crackled. Outside, wind howled. Alara shook her head slowly. That's not me.
I'm not.
I can't be. You're sent, Theron said gently.
Tell me what you smell right now.
From me. She inhaled instinctively. Oak. Winter.
Pine.
Storm. Now tell me what you feel. She paused. Beneath the warmth of the firs, beneath the exhaustion and pain, something stirred. The bond space where Cade's connection had been, empty and blackened, suddenly didn't feel quite so empty. A different thread was forming. Not gold. Silver. Stronger. It whispered of protection and belonging and choice rather than fate. I feel. She looked at Theron with wide eyes.
You.
Chosen mates, he said, and there was something vulnerable in his ancient eyes. Not fated. The matriarch doesn't need fate. She chooses. And when she chooses, the bond is unbreakable. But I didn't choose. You will. In time. When you're ready. When you understand. He leaned forward.
Alara.
Do you know why you've always been weak? Why your wolf is so silent? Why you've never shifted? Her throat tightened. Because I'm Omega. Because I'm broken. No. Syra moved to stand beside Theron. Because you were bound. What? A woman with silver-white hair stepped forward. She'd been quiet until now, her scent like moonflower and ancient magic. I'm Kira. I'm the mage among us. The only one who can sense it. You've been carrying a binding spell since infancy. Powerful. Deliberate. Someone sealed away your power before you could ever access it. The world tilted. That's impossible. Who would? Your parents. The words fell like stones. Alara stared at Kira, at the sympathy in her eyes, at the absolute certainty.
No.
They wouldn't. Why would they? Fear, Theron said simply. Your parents found you as an infant. Abandoned. Left at their door with a note that said only protect her. They were good people. Are good people. But when your true nature began to manifest, when you healed your mother's broken arm with a touch when you were 3, when you commanded their wolves with a word when you were 5, they panicked. Dane continued the story. They consulted a dark mage. Paid everything they had your power bound and sealed, made you appear Omega, made your wolf go silent. They thought they were saving you. The prophecy is known in certain circles, and prophecies attract danger. They thought if you seemed powerless, no one would hurt you, Jasper added. But they didn't understand. The binding didn't just hide your power. It poisoned you, made you suffer for years. Tears streamed down Alara's face. Her entire life. Everything she'd endured. The contempt. The loneliness. The rejection. All of it because the binding was breaking anyway, Kira said softly.
Slowly. Painfully.
It would have killed you within a year. But Cade's rejection. She almost smiled. He did you a favor. The trauma of the bond severing shattered the binding completely. The suppression magic couldn't withstand that kind of spiritual shock. Which means, Theron said, his voice gentle but firm, your wolf is waking up. Your power is returning. And, Alara, it's going to be overwhelming. As if summoned by his words, something stirred in the depths of her consciousness. Not the small, timid presence she'd known all her life. Something massive, ancient, powerful beyond measure. Little one, a voice purred in her mind, feminine, regal, amused. You've kept me caged for so long. Shall we finally run? Alara gasped. I can't hear her. My wolf. She's talking to me. She's been waiting, the wolf's voice continued. Waiting for you to be ready. But now the chains are broken. Now we can be whole. What do I do? Alara looked at Theron in panic. I don't know how, I've never shifted. You don't need to know. She knows. Trust her. He stood, and the Sentinel-10 moved to give her space, forming a wide circle. Let her out, Alara. Let yourself out. The power rose like a tide. Alara's eyes widened. It's too much. I can't. You can. We're here. We've got you. The transformation hit her like a freight train. But there was no pain. That was the first miracle. Instead of the bone-snapping agony the Bound described, there was only a sensation of flowing, of becoming. Her bones didn't break. They reshaped, flowing like water into new forms. Fur didn't erupt. It emerged, soft and silver-white, covering her skin in waves of moonlight. She felt herself grow.
And grow. And grow.
Her senses exploded. She could smell everything. The Sentinel-10, each scent unique and beautiful, the wood smoke, the snow outside, the rabbits hiding in burrows 100 yards away, the distant pack territories, the earth itself. She could hear heartbeats. Wind in trees miles distant. The crack of ice on a lake. And the power. Oh, the power. It erupted from her in waves that shook the cabin. The fire surged. Windows rattled. Outside, the storm paused as if taking a breath. When the transformation completed, Alara opened eyes that glowed pure silver, not the yellow gold of normal wolves, but silver like the moon itself. She looked down at her body. She was massive, easily twice the size of any alpha she'd ever seen. Her fur rippled with an inner light, as if moonbeams had been woven into each strand. Her paws were the size of dinner plates. When she exhaled, frost formed in the air. We are glorious, her wolf purred. The Sentinel-10 had dropped to one knee. Matriarch, Theron said, his voice thick with emotion. Welcome home. Alara tried to shift back. The transformation flowed in reverse, natural, easy, leaving her gasping and naked on the cabin floor. Syra immediately wrapped her in furs. That was... Alara couldn't find words. Your first shift, Dane said, still kneeling. And you're already larger than ancient alphas. When you learn control, Alara, you'll be unstoppable. She looked at her hands. They were glowing faintly. When she touched the wooden floor, she felt the life in the trees that had made it. Felt the earth beneath. Felt the heartbeats of 10 warriors sworn to her service. I don't know what to do with this. Then we teach you. Theron rose and offered his hand. That's why we're here. 10 sentinels. Each of us carries a piece of what you'll need to know. Syra teaches combat. Dane teaches empathy and pack bonds. Kira teaches magic. Jasper teaches joy. And you? Alara asked, taking his hand and standing on shaky legs. His smile was soft. I teach you that you're not alone. Not anymore. Over the following weeks, as autumn surrendered completely to winter, Alara learned what it meant to be whole. Each day began with shifting practice. Theron stood beside her in the clearing behind the cabin, patient as stone, as she learned to call her wolf forward and back. The transformation became smoother each time.
Faster.
Soon she could shift in heartbeats, could hold her wolf form for hours, could run through the forest with a grace that made her want to weep with joy. You're a natural, Theron said after she'd completed her 50th consecutive shift without error. Snow dusted his dark hair. His breath misted in the winter air. Most wolves train for years to achieve this level of control. Most wolves weren't imprisoned for 2 decades, Alara countered, but there was no bitterness in her voice anymore. Just statement of fact. Syra taught her to fight. The copper-haired woman was merciless, knocking Alara onto her ass a dozen times a day at first. But Alara learned to use her size as an advantage, learned to move despite her bulk, learned that strength meant nothing without precision. Again, Syra commanded after Alara had successfully pinned her for the first time. I won. Shouldn't we stop? In a real fight, there's always another enemy. Again. But Syra's eyes gleamed with pride. Dane taught her the subtler arts. How to sense the emotions of other wolves through scent and energy. How to project calm or authority or comfort. How to weave pack bonds, not the forced hierarchy of alpha dominance, but true connections built on trust. You're empathic by nature, he explained as they sat by the fire. The matriarch was meant to unite, not conquer. Feel the difference. She practiced on the Sentinel-10, learning each of their emotional signatures. Theron's steady strength, Syra's fierce loyalty, Kira's quiet wisdom, Jasper's infectious optimism. Kira taught her about the magic that ran through her veins. You're a healer, the mage explained. But not just physical wounds. You can heal broken bonds, damaged spirits, the trauma that wolves carry. Can I heal my parents? Alara asked quietly. That depends. Do they want healing? Or do they want forgiveness they haven't earned? Jasper, true to his role, taught her joy. He challenged her to races through the forest, started snowball fights with the other sentinels, made her laugh until her sides hurt, reminded her that power didn't mean losing playfulness. You spent too many years sad, he said simply. Now you get to make up for it. The found family dynamic settled around Alara like a warm cloak. The Sentinel-10 weren't just guards. They were siblings, mentors, friends. They teased each other mercilessly, competed in ridiculous challenges, shared stories around the fire each night. And Theron was different. She felt the chosen bond growing stronger each day. Not forced, not fated, but right. When he was near, she felt anchored. When he smiled at her small victories, warmth bloomed in her chest. When he shifted into his massive storm-gray wolf and ran beside her through moonlit snow, something in her soul sang. I don't understand this, she told him one night after the others had gone to sleep. They sat together on the cabin's porch, watching stars will overhead. With Cade, the bond just appeared. I had no choice. But with you, you have all the choice, Theron said. That's the point. The matriarch's bonds are formed by will, not cosmic accident. You choose me, I choose you, and the bond grows from that choice. It's slower, but it's unbreakable. Have you chosen me? He turned to face her, silver eyes reflecting starlight. From the moment I saw you dying in that hollow, from the moment you opened your eyes, maybe even before that, from the moment I swore my oath to find you 50 years ago. 50 years. I'm older than I look. We all are. The Sentinel oath extends life. We were born in different packs, different times, but when the prophecy called, we answered. We've been waiting for you, Alara. All of us. Our whole lives. She reached for his hand. His fingers were scarred, strong, steady. I'm choosing you too. I think. I'm still learning how. Take your time. We have all the time in the world now. Days turned to weeks. Alara grew stronger, more confident, more herself. The timid Omega who'd accepted rejection without fight was gone. In her place stood a woman who could command blizzards with her howl, who could heal wounds with a touch, who could look her sentinels in the eye and see equals instead of superiors. You're ready, Theron said one morning in late December. For what? To face them. Your old pack. Word will have spread that you survived. That you're here. Cade will have to respond. Alara's stomach tightened. I don't want revenge.
Good.
Revenge poisons. But justice. His smile was sharp. Justice heals. And your people, the wolves still suffering under corrupt systems, they need to see that the matriarch has returned. That night, Syra returned from a scouting mission with grim news. Blackstone Pack knows you're alive. They have scouts in the woods. One of them saw your shift, saw your size. Reported back. Cade's assembling a war party. How many? Theron asked. 20 wolves. Full force. He'll arrive by tomorrow night. Syra's amber eyes glinted. He's bringing Sienna. She's demanding your head. Alara stood at the cabin window, looking out at the winter forest. Her forest now. Her territory. Something fierce stirred in her chest. Let them come. The Sentinel-10 looked at her. Let them come, she repeated, stronger now. I won't hide. I won't run. If Cade wants to see what he rejected, what his cruelty created. Then I'll show him. That's my girl, Jasper grinned. They prepared through the night. Not for war. Alara refused to strike first. But for display. For judgment. You're not just defending yourself, Dane reminded her. You're establishing a new order. What you do tomorrow will echo through every pack on the continent. No pressure, Alara muttered, but her hands were steady. The war party arrived as the sun set on the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. 20 wolves in battle formation emerged from the trees, their eyes gleaming in the dusk. Cade led them in his massive black wolf form, easily the largest among them. Sienna ran at his right flank, her russet fur immaculate, her scent sharp with bloodlust. The Sentinel 10 stood in a line before the cabin. Alara stood behind them, still in human form, dressed in white furs that gleamed like snow. Cade shifted first. His human form was as imposing as she remembered, tall, muscled, radiating authority. The scent of forest and embers and ozone and steel rolled across the clearing. Alara. Her name in his mouth was cold. You trespass in Wildwood Forest. This is neutral territory, but you're still banished from Blackstone lands. Leave now, and we'll let you walk away. Let her. Syra laughed, the sound sharp and dangerous. Cade's eyes narrowed. Who are you to speak to an alpha? She's my second, Alara said, stepping forward. Just as these 9 are my sentinels. And Theron is my chosen mate. Cade's gaze found Theron, and his expression flickered, perhaps recognizing the older wolf's power. You've found rogues to protect you. How? Omega of you. Sienna shifted into human form beside him, naked and shameless. Look at her, Cade. Still hiding behind others. Still weak. I'll give you one chance, Alara said quietly. Turn around.
Go home. Forget you saw me.
Forget this place. And no one gets hurt. Cade's laugh was cruel. You're going to threaten me?
Me?
Do you remember what happened the last time you stood before the pack, Omega? I remember you making the biggest mistake of your life. Mistake? His scent sharpened with anger. I chose power over weakness. I chose a future for my pack. You were a chain around my ankle. You didn't just reject a bond, Cade. Alara's voice carried a weight it had never held before. Authority, power, certainty. You rejected your matriarch. You rejected the goddess's daughter. And now you'll understand what you've lost. She shifted. The transformation was instantaneous, effortless, beautiful. One moment she was a woman. The next, a massive silver-white wolf stood before them, glowing in the twilight, eyes blazing pure moonlight. She was larger than Cade, larger than any 2 of his wolves combined. The Blackstone pack stumbled backward. Several whimpered. The scent of fear washed over the clearing like a wave. Sienna recovered first. It's a trick. Some kind of. She shifted and lunged. Alara didn't move.
Didn't need to.
Sienna's attack was desperation, fury, arrogance. As the russet wolf leaped for her throat, Alara simply caught her midair with one massive paw and slammed her into the frozen ground with such force that the earth cracked. Sienna lay stunned. The wind knocked from her lungs. Pathetic, Alara's wolf purred. She thought herself a queen. She is barely a pawn. The Sentinel 10 shifted as one. And the world stopped. 10 massive wolves materialized where 10 warriors had stood, not normal wolves, not even normal dire wolves. These were legends given flesh. Theron in his storm-gray magnificence stood nearly as large as Alara, his fur crackling with actual lightning. Syra's copper form gleamed like molten metal. Dane's black coat seemed to absorb light. Kira's white fur glowed with moonfire. Each of them dwarfed Cade's largest warriors. Moon Goddess, someone in the Blackstone pack whispered. Cade stared. His wolf form, so imposing moments before, looked suddenly small, fragile, young. Theron's voice rang out in that peculiar way shifted wolves could project. You face the matriarch and her sentinels. The prophecy has come to pass. The old ways are dead. A new order begins.
No.
Cade's snarl was desperate now. This is impossible. She's Omega. She was bound. Alara projected, her mental voice resonating with power that made several Blackstone wolves drop to their bellies in instinctive submission. Imprisoned in weakness to protect her. But you, Cade Thornwood, you broke those chains. Your cruelty freed me. Your rejection saved me.
So, in a way,
I should thank you. She padded forward. Each step made the ground tremble faintly. She circled Cade's wolf form slowly, deliberately. You wanted power. You chose it over fate. Over love. Over me. So, let me show you what power looks like. Alara raised her muzzle to the sky and howled. The sound was impossibly large, impossibly beautiful. It rolled across the forest like thunder, shook snow from trees, sent birds fleeing into the night. The Sentinel-10 joined her, 10 voices weaving with hers in a harmony that was both terrifying and holy. The very air seemed to shimmer. The moon, just rising over the tree line, blazed brighter. And every single Blackstone wolf, all 20 of them, including Cade, dropped to their bellies in submission. They couldn't help it. The dominance, the authority, the sheer presence of Alara's power made resistance impossible. Cade tried to rise.
failed.
Tried again. Failed again. His wolf form trembled. Kneel, Alara commanded. All of you. They shifted into human form, compelled by her voice, and knelt in the snow. Naked. Shivering. Defeated without a single blow being struck. Sienna, still crumpled where Alara had thrown her, shifted last. Blood trickled from her nose. Her beautiful face was twisted in disbelief and rage. Kill us then, she spat. Get it over with. Alara shifted back to human form. The Sentinel-10 did the same, materializing clothes from stored packs. Theron draped a cloak around Alara's shoulders. She walked to stand before Cade, who knelt with his head bowed. Look at me. He raised his eyes. They were wide. Afraid. For the first time since she'd known him, Cade Thornwood looked small. I'm not going to kill you, Alara said. Death is easy. Death is mercy. You don't deserve mercy. Then what? Justice.
For me.
For every Omega you've stepped on. For every wolf deemed weak under your rule. She raised her voice. I am Alara Winters, matriarch of wolves, daughter of the moon, queen of the wildwood. This territory is mine. These forests are mine. And I declare new laws. Her eyes glowed silver. Power radiated from her in visible waves. First, the hierarchy is abolished. There will be no more Alpha, Beta, Omega. There will be wolves who lead through wisdom and wolves who serve through choice, and they will be equals in worth. Several Blackstone wolves gasped. Dane and Syra moved through their ranks, and Alara felt her sentinel's calming influence wash over the stunned warriors. Second, mates will not be rejected. Bonds are sacred. If you don't want a fated bond, you petition for release. Both parties must agree. No more public humiliation. No more abandonment. Cade flinched. Third, any wolf cast out without cause will find sanctuary here. The wildwood is neutral ground no longer. It is haven, and I am its protector. She looked at Sienna, still kneeling, still bleeding, still radiating impotent rage. Sienna Ravencroft.
You attacked your matriarch. Normally, that's death.
But I'm feeling generous. You're banished. Not from Pack lands, from these territories entirely.
Go west. Go east.
I don't care. But if I see your face again, if I catch your scent again, there will be no second chance. You can't, Sienna began. I can. And I do. Alara's voice cracked like a whip. Jasper.
Syra.
Escort her to the border. Make sure she understands the rules. 2 sentinels moved to flank Sienna, who shot Cade a desperate look. He didn't meet her eyes. They hauled her to her feet and marched her into the darkness. Her protest faded into the trees. Alara turned back to Cade. And you, Alpha Thornwood, you have a choice. He looked up, confused and wary. Return to your pack. Rule them if they'll still have you. But know this. I'm watching. The matriarch sees all. If I hear of cruelty, of abuse, of wolves suffering under your command, I will come. And next time I won't be so kind. You're letting me go? I'm giving you the chance you never gave me. The chance to learn.
To grow.
To be better. She stepped closer, and Cade shrank back. But if you waste it, Cade, I promise you'll wish I'd killed you tonight. She straightened and addressed the entire Blackstone pack. All of you, go home. Think about what you've seen. Spread the word. The matriarch has returned. A new age is coming. And wolves who cling to the old ways of cruelty and division will find themselves on the wrong side of history. The Blackstone wolves scrambled to their feet, casting odd and terrified glances at Alara and her sentinels. They shifted into wolf form and fled into the forest, Cade among them, no longer leading, just running. As the last of them disappeared, Theron moved to Alara's side. You showed mercy. I showed justice. There's a difference. Many wouldn't see it that way. Many would have demanded blood. Then many don't understand what it means to be matriarch. Alara looked at her hands. They'd stopped glowing, but she could still feel the power humming beneath her skin. I don't want to rule through fear. I want to rule through truth. Dane approached, smiling. The bonds you just formed, with those Blackstone wolves who submitted to you, they're still there. Faint, but there. You claimed them. I didn't mean to. You did it instinctively. Your wolf knows what you need. And you need allies. Those wolves will remember tonight.
Some will hate you for it.
But others will think about what you said. About equality. About sanctuary. And they'll come. Over the following days, Dane's prediction proved true. First came a young wolf named Riley, barely 18, an Omega from a pack 3 territories away. She'd heard rumors. Followed the scent of power. Arrived half-starved and desperate. Is it true? She asked, kneeling in the snow before the cabin. Is there really a place where Omegas don't have to serve? Stand up, Alara said gently. You don't kneel to me unless you choose to. And yes, it's true. You're welcome here. Then came a pair of older wolves, a mated couple cast out for refusing to produce children. Then a warrior scarred from defending a pack that abandoned him when he was injured. Then a healer who'd spoken against her alpha's violence. One by one, two by two, they came. The wildwood filled with refugees, outcasts, and dreamers. Alara's territory grew. Her pack, built on choice and equality rather than dominance, took shape. And through it all, the bond with Theron deepened. He was there when she had nightmares about Cade. There when she doubted herself. There when she successfully healed her first major wound, a broken leg that would have left a normal wolf crippled. He celebrated her victories and held her through her fears. I love you, she told him one night as they stood atop a ridge overlooking her growing territory. Lights from a dozen small settlements twinkled below. I choose you, Theron Ashwood. Completely. His silver eyes gleamed. And I choose you, Alara Winters. My matriarch. My mate. My home. The bond snapped fully into place, not gold like faded bonds, but silver and platinum and starlight. Unbreakable.
Perfect.
The mark that appeared on both their left shoulders was intricate as frost, beautiful as dawn. The symbol of chosen love. Of partnership. Of two souls who found each other not through cosmic accident, but through will and trust and time. 2 months after the confrontation, scouts reported movement from the east. A messenger arrived bearing formal papers. Your parents, Syra said grimly. They want to see you. They've sent a formal petition. Alara's hands trembled as she read their letter. It was simple.
Honest. Heartbreaking.
Alara,
we know we have no right to ask.
We know what we did. But we need you to understand. We were afraid. We thought we were protecting you. We see now we were only protecting ourselves from fear. The binding is broken. You are whole.
And we're so sorry.
We don't ask for forgiveness. We ask only for the chance to explain.
To apologize. To see what you've become.
With love and regret, Marcus and Vera Winters. Do I see them? Alara asked Theron. Do you want to? She thought about it, felt the old anger, the old pain, but beneath it curiosity, and perhaps the faintest thread of hope.
Yes.
But on my terms, in my territory, with my sentinels present. They came 3 days later, looking small and aged and frightened. Alara received them in the great hall she'd claimed, an old fortress deep in the wildwood, rebuilt and repurposed. She sat on a simple wooden throne, therein at her right hand, the sentinel 10 arrayed behind her. Her parents knelt before her not in submission, but in respect, in remorse. "Stand," Alara said. "Tell me everything." And they did. The whole story, finding her as an infant on their doorstep. The note. The fear when her power manifested. The mage who promised to keep her safe by making her seem powerless. The years of watching her suffer and feeling helpless to help without revealing the truth. "We thought we were saving you," Vera wept. "But we were only hurting you." "You were," Alara agreed. "You hurt me terribly. You let me think I was broken, worthless. You stood by while I was rejected and humiliated." Marcus bowed his head. "We know, and we'll spend the rest of our lives regretting it." "Good." Alara's voice was hard. "You should. What you did, there's no easy forgiveness for that. We don't ask for easy. But